Hello. This probably isn't how you wanted to hear this or see from me again. I've probably gained a reputation at this point of sudden disappearances and returning when it's convenient for me. But what else is new? This isn't the first or last time that I'll disappear from people's lives. That's just the vicious cycle that is my life. But that isn't why you're here, looking at this parchment and taking your time to hallucinate my voice. You're probably wondering where I've gone, what I'm doing. To those questions, there are many different answers. But let's start from the beginning to understand why I do this, then what I'm doing, and lastly, where I'm doing all this. I was once like you, a child living on a small island village with my family and friends. Cursed with my appearance, the world outside the island hated me, but the people on it chose to protect me instead. Whenever the holy guard from the church on the main continent came to our home, they would always arrive with the same phrase: to purify the island from the demon that hides on it. Rah, rah, rah. Many merchants that came to this island to trade with us always returned home with stories of a creature with tusks and brown eyes who would ask them for wares and scare them into giving up their stuff. That creature was me, Salvatore T. Winchester, or Sal for short. To be fair, I did have tusks, but they were more nubs than actual weapons. Plus, I was barely up to their knees. The most terrifying thing they could say about me was a bipedal pig was asking if they could buy some of their foreign fish. I really liked eating the fresh salmon they caught. The people of the island knew me, they cared for me, and whenever the guards came, they would hide me, or I would hide myself, thanks to my mother's pendant. Whatever magic was in it allowed me to alter my appearance, a very useful tool. After years of this, when I was 12, I started to wonder why they thought I was evil. My uncle and auntie, both human, said the truth would be mine in the future. This began raising more questions. Who was I? What was I? Where do I belong? A year later, I left the island to pursue that information. What a mistake that was. When I left that island, everywhere I went was met with the same hatred or anger that the guards had when they came to hunt me down. I always took on a new disguise to try and find any intel or history about my parents, but that information never existed in the first place. After another year of exploration, while my amazement of the outside world was constantly fueled, my disappointment counteracted it equally so. And then one day, I died. A sudden cave-in accident in an abandoned mine shaft that I was exploring to find tales about pig-like monsters. The death was slow, trapped under its rubble with no one coming to rescue me. When I finally passed, I woke up in what would now be called the void. Since then, I have been entering in and out of worlds, a wanderer of the infinite. At first, I followed the directions on bits of paper, tasks, objectives I needed to complete before I was given access to another world. This led me to meet many great people. Most I would call friends, some rivals, and few would be thorns by my side. All of them are gone now though. You see, these people, regardless of these views of me, work together to find an entity that could bring calamity to the multiverse. A creature that feeds off the life force of other worlds. With our combined strength, we barely dented the great beast's defenses, and only in their sacrifice was I given the strength to take vengeance against the entity that took them all away from me. Ironic, I took vengeance on a creature named Vengeance. How funny. Up until now, I learned a few different things about myself. Firstly, my real parents came from two other worlds, one in the hell that connects all hells and the other in the void. I was born at a time where there were great shifts in these realms, and so I was hidden away into another universe that they foresaw would be peaceful for me to live in. Once again, I was inserted into another narrative and brought great trouble for people around me. Secondly, I learnt about the true potential of my mother's pendant. When a particular stone is made from organic matter, it becomes purple, but when souls are sacrificed to it, it burns a deep red. I believe most alchemists would call this a philosopher's stone, a material of great power and potential. On the day when everyone around me was slain, their souls were taken into the stone, and their will drove me forward to winning the battle. I was able to wield their abilities, use their knowledge, fight in various styles. I was a god fighting against another. And after the battle, when I returned their souls home to rest, my eyes would be stained with the same crimson color that once was the now dormant purple stone. Thirdly, and yes, there's more, my father was the chieftain of the Hellboars that protected the doorways to other hells. Whenever I went to visit him, I discovered two things. Hellboars lived for a very long time, and that my dad was already dead. Years before I could see him. My grandfather would pass on to me this news, and I spent some time with him to understand the ways of my people before he guided me to where my mother was. It's also where I got my axe. It was his that he used in battle aid for their great forges. I would eventually upgrade it to become my axe, Ligma. Oh, I almost forgot. Apparently my real name is Salmon G. Boyd. Not only does that, it was my mother's name choice with my father's last name. Good combination, I'd say. Fourthly, my mother had lost her mind. With the death of my dad and how her son had gone missing, in which she checked after I initially left the world, she returned home to their kingdom and hasn't left her room since, only dealing orders from her chambers via her maidens. Alright, newsflash. My mother is an Empress of the Soul Reapers. Yeah, confusing, right? Warlord dad, Empress mother. Imagine being an interdimensional bore, following literal paper trails and word of mouth, and then discovering that. I didn't sleep for like a century, right? So, quick history lesson. Soul Reapers are protectors of the void, ensure that the souls of all entities in existence are maintained in their order. I don't think they'll be happy when they realize that the captain went with me on a joyride. Oh well. It took some time, but I was able to see her face to face. She's very lovely, someone I wish I was around more when I was younger. Who knows what kind of up himself arrogant little brat I could have been if I lived in the Empire. I haven't seen her in some time. I hope she's doing better. Maybe I'll stop by sometime to make sure she's getting her vitamin S. It comes from Starlight. I'll go past Dad's grave too. I have to return his axe. I'm sure he'll like that. Finally, after the battle, I met my master. While he goes by many names and appearances, he often prefers to be called Aeon. He was being held hostage by this particular entity, and while he could have beaten it, he felt the need to wait for the appropriate time when a warrior would come to save him. Apparently those paper trails did have a rider. He taught me all about the void, the effect on reality, and how the entity I had beaten was one of the many calamity class creatures that existed. After that, he offered to recruit me and allow me to work under him as an apprentice. At first I refused, but when I thought about worlds being subjected to the chaos that I saw with the literal deletion of other worlds, it was a no-brainer. I decided to work with him as a next generation Void Knight, a warrior of the infinite. This is the part where you go, that's cool, that's a lot of waffling, why say all this? And you'd be right, but a lot of this is context for what comes next. You see, when I returned home to my auntie and uncle Winchester to tell them where I'd been, I started to also visit other worlds casually and complete tasks that came to my book, the Topotheton. In one of these worlds I visited often, I spent a lot of my time looking after some kids in a witch's covenant. Turned out these witches never learned how to make potions or survive on their own. So I ended up helping them out on more than one occasion, teaching them combat to defend themselves from their oppressors, the art of brewing and alchemy, and looking after the next generation. There were these two particular kids that I gave nicknames to, Ravenchild and Starchild. I hope they're doing alright. For a while, they were my family. But, you know, someone didn't like that. When I was returning to my homeworld, I was attacked by someone. Waking up and looking around me, I discovered the world around my island was deleted like the other ones I had seen before. The rubble was left destroyed and burning with the bodies of everyone that lived there, scattered among the rubble. When I looked at my hands, they were covered in blood, and looking into the water, half my face was missing, right down to the bone. I knew that whoever was the source of this came from the original world that I went to, so I went back to find them. I'll admit, I became very bitter when I went back. I confronted witches, but they had no information of what could have happened. I may have lashed out a bit and left angrily. I do hope that one day I can make amends for that mistake. I wandered the world and met with some of the other locals, but again, nothing came up. After this, my memory blanks again. It was the same feeling I had when I returned home and was attacked. When I awoke, I was standing on trial before a court of who I am led to believe are godlike entities. They all claimed I was terrorizing their world, that I had apparently even attacked another world as well. They banished me from their reality and told me to never return, except I did. And then I reawoke to standing in a pool of blood. Someone was screaming at me. There was a lot of anger in her eyes. I could only see blue hair with eyes of emerald glaring at me. And then I blanked out again. More screams, telling someone to run away. This happened a lot. When I returned, I was in the void. My mind was clear once again, but I was lacking in a lot of core memories. Talking to my master, he told me to explore the world for a particular entity that he believed would have been the reason behind this chaos. So I left to wander again, following my book for clues, traveling through realities until I came to the SMP. You already know of my story here, so let's skip ahead a bit. Temporarily, a week in your time, I left with a certain white-haired individual on a journey of a lifetime through the internet. We wandered through the endless and began our journey back here. So many things happened while we were away. The arguments and teamwork with Everall, our heart-to-heart sessions where we talked about ourselves, and a friendship that will last more than a lifetime, I hope. There was the discovery of a world called Skyworld, and a clone left behind named Skyline who joined us on our journey. There were the interaction with my master, and the goal to reclaim the chunks of energy that will allow the one final unification of my axe, to use with a powerful spell to take us home. The appearance and inclusion of charms to our party, an amazing addition, the death of our dear friend Skyline, who I miss every day, and the trip to Everall's home, and finally our return here. There were also the events after, which involved a long wander home, a task which we barely survived through had it not been Charms's knowledge, my stone, and Everall's compliance. God, he was greatly injured by the spell to return home. A lot of time was spent allowing him to rest on the way back here. There is one final detail I left out, however, that isn't for me to discuss. To he who joined with me, he'll understand these final words. I'm going back for him, and I'll make things right for both of you. To you other sticky beats, don't read into that. That's none of your concern. During this time, I realized that the other side of my face was beginning to change. Slowly, I felt myself changing more and more internally as well. I fear that I've come to understand that whatever the entity has done to me before had a very long-term plan in mind. I feel as though I'm being consumed inside, and that whatever is fighting me is only delayed by the captain's aid. This is something that won't go away with a simple death reset. I fear this is what might cause my own true death. What being developed inside of me. Or a great calamity that will consume everything with my own power. I've had some time to talk with the captain, and we feel that going away might be the best plan. That's not the only reason for my departure. I need to find the thing that has done this to me. I need to find a way to return the captain's soul to his body. I need to go visit someone very important. I need to find a way to return my memories. And finally, I need to be alone. I apologize. After agreeing to be more open and working with you all, I end up running away once again. I can only hope that my tale above will be sufficiently open enough for now. Do not come for me. I've already sealed the only exit out of this world behind me, and have left with rashes to wander the void for some time. I've also taken all information on me about the machine I used and hidden it behind the time and night crystal barrier in the buried library. Breaking through will cause anything behind the barrier to rapidly age, so don't attempt to bypass it. I'm speaking directly to you, everyone, on this. No magic you have studied will help you here. It only allows those who put it down first to pass it through. I will find out what is happening, and I'll do my duty as a Void Knight. Whatever this threat wants with me would have dragged you all down in order to find me, and that's something I cannot allow to happen. To everyone, I'm sorry I had to go, but I believe you understand already why I'm doing so. To Leon, I wish there was more I could do, and the news of this might be disheartening. Just know that this is something the captain wished as well. It would not have been a decision I'd have made unless it was unanimous. Rashes also agrees to join me on this. I will be back. Small random visits should be alright, but I'll make sure that I find a way to bring your father home. To Andrew, wish there was more time for us to chat, and I'm sorry that I have kept you out of the loop that I am forever intertwined with. I will hopefully be able to return and answer more of your curiosities in the future, but until then, please stay strong. To Kevin, look after Leon and Everall for me. I'll try and bring something back that will make up for it. Either a new hope or some other variety of bee species. I know how much you love them. To Jake, no, I won't pay for that hole in your wall. We all know you wanted it there and how you've already made plans to decorate it. To Charms, please give this new world a chance. These people are good and will treat you well. I know you have a great potential and even greater heart. I'll always be here to support you should you need it. To the new members I met at lunch, I wish I could have taken more time to talk with you all. Hopefully, if/when I return, I can do so. And to Luke, I know you had questions, but those will have to be answered in the future. As for right now, you should watch yourself. I believe there is a great power shifting that is coming to the valley. Someone who wants power is prepared to find a way to exploit it. Its intent is malicious and its desire is insatiable. Watch your back, Mr. Operator. And to you, yes, you. No, stop pointing at yourself. Yeah, just let me talk. Yes, I'm doing a wall break, shut up. To you at home, I hope you'll be okay with me taking this time to wander alone. I will be back someday soon, and if not, I'll always be out there protecting your world. Just look up at the night sky and peer into the infinite. I'll be there dancing in the moonlight, seeing what tomorrow will bring. As should you. Never allow yourself to be chained to reality. Be the lead of your own story. You are special and important. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. Have a lovely morning, day, afternoon, evening, or night wherever you are, and I'll see you soon.